Hello, welcome to my The Great Gatsby movie analysis. In this I will be, first of all, going through a quick overview, then talking about some of the main themes and symbols, imagery throughout the movie. Then furthermore, how the film portrays the lost generation. And by the end, the immense use of audio/visual and technical means. So for the first part, the quick overview. In the beginning of the movie, we meet this young man named Nick Carey. He's a newly Yale graduate in poetry, and he's also one of our main characters and narrator throughout the movie. Nick moves to New York, more specifically the West Egg, in hopes of this rich and wealthy life. One night, Nick visits his cousin and her husband, who lives on the East Egg. Here he is quickly introduced to their fast and rather carefree lifestyle. Nick is then invited by his cousin's husband to a party in his apartment that he uses for his what do you even call those, romantic detours and other hidden affairs. As the movie continues, Nick is invited to one of the simply extraordinary Gatsby parties. Here he meets the mythical Great Gatsby himself. Gatsby is this young man with a very, distinct English accent and an affection for using old sport in what seems to be every other sentence. Nick then goes on to spend more time with this mythical Jay Gatsby, and he meets him more frequently and ends up learning exactly how or why he was invited, mostly why, and what Jay intends to get from their friendship, and what Jay Gatsby wants, because he's hopelessly in love with Nick's cousin Daisy, is for Nick to arrange a reunion between the two, so that Jay hopefully can win the already married Daisy back. Tom, who's Daisy's husband, grows more and more suspicious and ends up accusing the Great Gatsby of being a mere criminal trying to steal his wife. However, things escalate further when, on the way back from the confrontation, Gatsby's car, although being driven by Daisy, hits Tom's mistress, Myrtle. This leaves way for Tom to frame Gatsby for the murder, to which Myrtle's husband goes on with that information that he got from Tom and shoots Jay Gatsby as an act of revenge. The movie then ends with Nick hosting a depressingly small funeral, and thereafter moving back to Minnesota to reflect on the past summer's happenings. The main themes and symbols of the film. The main theme of The Great Gatsby includes themes such as what I would call love makes a fool of all of us. The movie features this bizarre and naive understanding of love, mostly from Gatsby's side, where we see this man that fully believes that he can, after being gone for 5 years, win back the heart of a girl who's already married. Nonetheless, Gatsby, knowingly of her situation, carries on by pouring his heart out about how he needed to be a success before he was ready, and how he needed to make a man of himself before he was ready to settle down. Gatsby was simply blind by love. Another, and in my opinion more important theme, is what we see in the decline of morals. The movie has its interpretation of this decline in the time period that is placed in, and we see it throughout the entire movie. We mostly see it in this gross and almost extreme greed, in the overflow of material wealth, which is basically the same, And we also see it in the carefree attempt of finding, well, not even sustainable pleasure, just momentary pleasure. And these are the things that, in more modern times, everyone frowns upon. I mean, today we value honest work, or some do at least, and noble intentions, charity, etc. So these are very, well, different and almost opposite morals and ideals that they lived after compared to the more modern morals and ideals. As to the symbols of the movie, there are three major symbols throughout it. The first being the valley that they drive through in order to get to Manhattan. The valley symbolizes this, well, moral decline that I've already touched on a bit earlier, but also the vast difference between rich and poor at the time. Another symbol is the eyes of a Dr. T.J. Eckelberg on the billboard. This rustral billboard and the eyes on it represent a god of sorts watching the people and judging them. And these eyes are staring down at the now moralless and materialistic, narcissistic America. Another way of looking at the billboard and the eyes and interpreting it is by looking at how rusty and old it is and how the paint on the billboard is fading away, which in my mind indicates that the presence of a god in America is fading, which also furthermore symbolizes the moral decay and the lack of a divine power keeping America on top of things. Last but not least, the green light. The green light symbolizes a sort of goal, green light at the end of the tunnel, so to say. It can also be interpreted as a symbol of the American dream and what everybody longs for. But more specifically in the movie, it symbolizes Gatsby's great ambition, which is being successful in every way. And the last thing he needs, the goal, the light of the end of the tunnel he needs to reach, is to be successful in love, which to him means getting Daisy. How the film portrays the lost generation. So how does a film portray the so-called lost generation? I think the film truly portrays the lost generation in the most literal and general meaning. By that I mean throughout the entire movie, we just see these people aimlessly searching for either wealth, pleasure, or both. And not one of them seems to have an idea of how they should be living, which morals they should be living after. None of them have this sort of life codex or an idea of how they're gonna end up being happy. They're just taking it day by day. They're completely aimless. For the last part, I want to talk a little bit about Luhrmann's use of audio/visual and technical means throughout the movie. I know I don't have a lot of time left, only a minute or so I'll try and make it short and sweet. Luhrmann uses a lot of very saturated colors throughout the entire movie when the movie's going through the happier parts. And he uses almost grayscale coloring during the more sad and less carefree parts of the movie. This meaning that he uses color and brightness, most of all, to describe and set the mood of a scene. Furthermore, he also uses appropriate or very appropriate music to set the scenes. This meaning sad music during the more depressing content and happy music during the parties, etc. Although these are very common usages of audio and visual and technical means, they're also very strong in making the viewer feel more emotionally joined with the movie and therefore experiencing it way more intense.